Alright, hey guys, chances are there's a much higher percentage of people who, god damn it. Anyway, hopefully that camera does not fall. Anyway, I was saying chances are there's a higher percentage of people watching this who don't know me, because there's some hoes out there who just have nothing better to do than search, like, religion or atheism on YouTube. I mean, fucking, I don't know, watch a TV show. But for you whores out there, and just friends if you want to contribute, I just had a couple of random questions. Yeah, so, no offense to any of you or anything. Just, like, honestly, I think these are good questions. So let's get into it. The first one was, like, so, like, Jesus came down. Alright, we won't get into that. First question is, how does dying forgive my sins? And, like, how the fuck does that make any sense? Like, you know, because Jesus came down, died on the cross, blah, 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 for our, like, so that our sins could be forgiven. You know, like, to get rid of original sin. I might be getting some of that wrong, so go ahead and correct me if you want to. But just how the fuck does that make sense? So Jesus is God. God sends himself down to us to die to get rid of our sins. Like, at what point? Like, we hear it so often, you know, like, Jesus died for us or died for our sins. But, like, have you ever thought, like, how the fuck does that make sense? Like, just repeating something, you know, doesn't make it, like, better, but even from like a symbolic perspective, like how does dying take care of any of that shit? And more importantly, why did God have to send himself to kill himself for himself than for our sins? You know, that's not even counting the question of like we're born with original sin because Adam and Eve fucked up. Quick question. Like in the creation story, this is like a side note. In the creation story, a lot of people, you know, will say, you know, a lot of it's symbolic, you know, which makes sense. I mean, it just does. But like, if the whole creation story with Adam and Eve in the garden and stuff is like highly symbolic, well, what about original sin? Because without original sin, no reason for Jesus to die. You know, like their whole the whole religion is kind of a sham without it. So I don't know, just a thought, because I know that was really like spread out and sporadic, so apologies. Number two, it's just it's the basic problem of evil. Like, if God's all loving, all powerful, all knowing, why the fuck do we have evil in the world? Because, you know, surely he would like prevent it. And there have been a lot of people who have come up with different answers for this, and I find most of them to be shitty. Like, one of the most popular ones that's widely accepted now is, you know, God gave us free will, you know, like we can choose what to do, and inevitably, like, some people will choose evil actions, and that's why evil exists. But, you know, I just find that like a shitty explanation. You know, if you have an all-powerful God, why doesn't he just, you know, make a universe where you can have free will and there won't be any evil? And people say like, you know, well, then it wouldn't be free. And I'm like, well, fuck that. It's God. Like, he can figure it out. You know, he's all-powerful, all-knowing. So, like, most proponents of that argument, like, when you bring that up to them, they'll say that, like, actually, like, there's sort of, like, a limit. Like, God can't do that. Which, you know, I don't know. I just don't find it a satisfying answer. Because then you have to concede that God isn't all-powerful. For other answers, it's just sort of the same argument. Like, take that answer, say, now, why couldn't God make a perfect world without it? And, like, pose that question to the person. And I think that you run into a big problem. Because, I mean, if God's all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-loving, I don't really see any explanation at all for why there should be evil. And none of the answers really can stand up if, you know, you're going to try to hold on to the fact that God is all-powerful, because an all-powerful God could do anything. So yeah, thoughts on that one. Number three, number three was the Adam and Eve story that I brought up earlier. Like, if all that shit's symbolic, most people say there wasn't really a snake, wasn't really an apple, might not have even been a garden, probably not an Adam and Eve. Like that's just a story that we're supposed to learn something from. What if original sins, doesn't exist, like symbolic? If it does, how the fuck does it get transferred to us? Why are we getting fucked over for someone else to screw up, especially if those people were symbolic people that didn't exist? Random question. Oh, then I came up with another one just the other day. I was just wondering, for the Catholics out there, when you get when you go up for communion, like, I found out that, like, I used to be a Catholic, that Catholics believe that it's actually the flesh and blood of Christ, which, when I was a kid, still am a kid, I just sort of thought it was symbolic, because I'm like, fuck no, I'm not eating a piece of meat, I'm eating a wafer. And then, like, some priest defended it, saying, like, no, like, we really believe it's the flesh and blood. And so my question is, like, do you believe that? And if you do, why? Because I'm willing to bet that you'd concede that if you look at it under a microscope, it's not a fucking piece of meat. And the wine isn't going to have fucking red blood cells floating in it. So, what the hell do you mean when you say you believe it? Like, that just seems like something to me that it has to be given, that it's, symbolic or something else. So, if you want, go ahead and post your responses, or counter arguments, or just your thoughts, or like a response video. I don't really care. But yeah, like seriously, like I want to hear about this shit. And I love you all, and stay Gucci.